And now, live in studio, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Yes, here we are again, another day committed to being your number one consumer advocate, helping you win in any marketplace. That's our number one goal. We're going to make sure that we educate you on things happening, current events, national trends, and we're also going to talk to you about consumer advocate advice, things that you can do to make you just a bit more street smart and avoid making those big mistakes when it comes to your real estate, finance, estate, and tax planning. So many ways that we can help you here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. 60 to 80 categories of consumer advocate content here, where we're going to help you every day. 5 o'clock drive time on 1380 The Biz, weekend show on FM 1025 The Bone. We're syndicated on iHeart, Apple TV, Amazon, Roku. You can find us on your smart TVs everywhere worldwide, and here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. So we want to make sure that you save our hotline number in your phone. At some point, you're going to need it. 813-670-7372.
You used to call me on my cell phone.
813-670-7372. That's our consumer advocate hotline number. And also bookmark our website, consumerqb.com. Intelligent Talk Radio. I've got some intelligent folks here in studio with me today. Back in studio, my man, Scott Kepler, Mortgage Approval Group. Welcome in, sir.
Thanks, Brandon. Always good to be here. Looking forward to having some good discussion today. And like always, bringing some value out there to the listeners.
That's right. We're going to educate them a little bit about national buying groups, hedge funds, wholesalers, whatever you want to call them. But they're kind of making a splash on the airwaves, and we want to talk a little bit about that today.
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward to, kind of putting my 2 cents in.
Cool. Attorney Frank Miranda also back in studio. Welcome back, sir.
Brandon, thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be on your show and let the consumer know exactly what's going on in real time and what's really happening to them. And contrary to what other people like to advertise and what they're saying, I like to tell the truth here. That's
right. It's all about the truth. And when you look at what's happening in the real estate market, we'll dive deeper into that as we go here. But I want to give a shout out to our hotel partner on the beach, the Bilmar Beach Resort, the official hotel partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. Check out the Bilmar Beach Resort over in Treasure Island. Sloppy Joe's restaurant on site. Gorgeous place to hang out. Just get away for a nice little vacation, staycation. This is the time of the year to do it. Reach out. Let them know that the Real Estate Quarterback sent you. Take them up on special offers and incentives just by mentioning that you're a fan of the Consumer Quarterback Show. The Bilmar Beach Resort, the official hotel partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. And as you know, I'm a top agent with Keller Williams Realty now. My wife and I run a team, and she does feng shui, interior design, as well as healing. She has a healing business. But I want to talk about a couple of our hot listings here. We got one. This one just hit the market last week, 11556 110th over in Pinellas Park. It's 11556 110th Terrace in Largo, actually, Largo. So right when you step out the backyard here, what's cool is you got this Pinellas Trail. If you haven't heard of the Pinellas Trail, it is amazing. I think it's something like 35 miles, close to 40 miles of just unobstructed. You just get on your bike and ride or jog, and a great place to go hang out. And Largo is just close to the beaches, and it's centrally in Pinellas County. Just a great place to check out that property. And also another hot property that we have listed here, 4101 Coquina Key Drive South. That is a nice property in St. Petersburg. Deep water access. Take your sailboat, any kind of boat that you have. 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage, and this property's on a deep water canal. And the best thing about this location is that if you're a fisherman or you're a real boater, you're going to go straight out into the Gulf of Mexico with not much of a drive. Check out PlatinumMVPTeam.com. And our feel-good story today coming up is a good one as well. This high school opens its doors every Friday night to keep students off the streets. So pretty cool story happening there. And we want to invite you to this event next Thursday night. It's coming up right around the corner here. Thursday, April 18th, 6 to 9 p.m. at Nickel, New York Kitchen Lounge. Be Your Own Brand is the name of the event at BYOB. Be Your Own Brand, and learn how to brand yourself and stand out in this busy environment that we call business, especially online. So we're going to talk to you about that at the BYOB event Thursday, April 18th at Nickel, which is 4606 West Boy Scout Boulevard, and it's right behind the Lucky Dill, right across from International Plaza Mall. Thursday night. Hope to see you there. All right, let's jump right into it, Scott. So Scott Kepler, Mortgage Approval Group, helping folks out with their mortgages, whether they're buying, selling, investing, refinancing. There's so many ways that you can help people. And what do you see in this industry? Because I've had my experiences with some of these national buying groups and, AKA hedge funds, whatever you want to call them. But it's interesting when you look at the dynamics of how they're advertising and then what actually shows up on the settlement statement sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've run into it a few times, both from clients of mine that were purchasing a house and were selling their current house and opted to go that route. And then I've had some clients that have purchased houses that are listed by these particular companies. And, we all know all the big names of them out there. But,
right.
Ultimately what I think happens is that, they advertise as if, they're saving you a bunch of money and a bunch of hassle, when in reality, they're costing you a lot more money.
Yeah.
I think it's like 1.5% more.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, typically they're going to pay you a little bit less for your house than, what a good agent would be able to, get for you, in my opinion.
Yeah, wholesale versus retail.
Ultimately, I think it comes down to convenience. You're paying for the convenience as
right.
a consumer, but then when you really look at it, it's not like, stopping by, a 7-Eleven on the way home and picking up a gallon of milk and I pay 50 cents more.
Right.
You're talking about a big price tag. You got to add a lot of zeros behind that, $2.80. I don't know what milk costs, but
yeah.
$5.
Is it? Yeah. Well, I don't do the grocery shopping, luckily, but
yeah.
I come home with too much stuff that I don't need, but
yeah,
you know what I mean? So, you're paying for that convenience. And when you look at, say a $200,000 house, that's an extra $3,000, up front that you've given away just in fees.
Right.
Not to mention, the, probably 5%, 3 to 5% less that you're getting when you list the house with like you said, with a good agent who can market it. Sure, is there going to be some inconveniences, of having to make sure the house is clean so that you can have it shown? There probably are, but honestly, in this market, if it's a nice house, it'll probably sell quick.
That's right. And it's the game too that they play. It's kind of like the shell game. When you go trade your car in, oh, we'll give you this amount for your car, but we're going to charge you this for that car. It's a shell game where they're saying, well, we're only doing 1.5% commission or whatever that might be. But if you look at all the additional fees on the settlement statement, there's lots of fees. It's the shell game of how they're saying that the advertising, in my opinion, does not match up with what shows up on the settlement statement. And I got some charts and graphs to prove it. I didn't bring them with me today, but maybe I should put them up on the screen. Have you seen that, Frank? Any of those types of things?
Yeah, to be specific for the listener.
Yeah.
So what I think we're talking about, what we are talking about, is you have these national companies coming in advertising extensively on television.
Yes.
Okay, so what this tells you is whether it's true or not, people that advertise on television, they get calls, they get leads. It seems to work. The problem with that is they're not being upfront with people. Mm-hmm. And so it's the analogy is you're having the fox watch the hen house. And what I mean by that is this: you're being promised a discounted rate to sell your house. You're being promised less inconvenience by going through this national company. You're being promised that it's going to cost you a certain amount of money to sell this house. What you're not being told is the following: you're not being told how to make the house more sellable and get more money from it, because they ultimately might be the actual buyer. If they are, they're not going to tell you how to enhance the value of your own house. Number two, you're not being told that other strangers are going to come into your house that you don't know, or they may be let into your house remotely, unsupervised.
Yep.
What you're not being told is that when you count all the back end fees, you're paying 6 to 10%.
That's a lot
of the purchase price. So you're going to net a lot less. What you're not being told is that they may ultimately buy the house, but they're going to buy it at a discounted rate, and then they're going to sell it for more money.
That's right.
Okay, so they're really taking your equity.
Yeah.
And so when you take into effect what's going on here is you not being an informed consumer. They're telling you things that are partially true, but when you come down to it and you look at what the actual transaction is, it's completely different. I had an experience with one of these people where my law firm was named as a closing agent on the contract, that the national company was actually the buyer in this situation. They refused to close because my name was on it. Well, why would they do that? The reason why they would do that, because they're in bed with everybody. They're in bed with they're in bed with the title company. They get a kickback from them.
Yep.
If you use them to go buy the next house, they're in bed with the mortgage company.
Right.
And some people say, well, that's a good thing. It's a one-stop shop. It is a one-stop shop, and it's a good thing if they told you the truth. What they don't tell you is you might pay additional fees excessively.
Yep.
Because there's more hands in the pot.
Yep.
And so is it convenient? I would argue it's not any more convenient than making one phone call to a reputable local realtor.
Yeah.
Because if you have an issue, there's someone that you can see face to face. You can touch them. You can make sure that they are having the one-on-one communication, which you're never going to have with these people.
Yeah.
And talking to them on the phone, through my experience, you're not talking to anybody that has an extensive real estate background.
Right.
To me, they're poorly trained, and I'm talking generally. I'm sure there's an exception to that rule. But when you talk to a local realtor and you keep the money in the local community, first and foremost, that local realtor, his reputation is more important than anything.
That's right.
Okay. And so that being the case, that person wants to excel and exceed your expectations.
Yes.
Once you enter into a contract with a blank person, there is no person there. They could care less of how they treat you because they're getting their business, not from referrals, from advertising.
Yep.
And only advertising a small nugget that they think the population wants to hear.
Right.
So if you want to be an informed consumer and you're serious about selling your house, I would strongly recommend that you go to a local realtor that you can actually shake their hand.
That's right.
And come to an agreement, look at them eye to eye. They will tell you things you might not want to hear about your property.
That's right.
How do you make it look better?
That's right.
So if you spend $2,000 on fresh carpet and some fresh paint,
yep,
you might get $10,000 back in return.
Exactly.
And those companies aren't going to tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it comes down to the fiduciary capacity, a single agent representing that buyer or that seller versus these national funds that comes in, they make the low offer. They have these contractors. I actually have a friend that's a contractor that has the bulk buying discounts for these groups, and they go in and they do just the very lightest possible, rip out the countertops, put in some new countertops if they need to, the very light cosmetic type stuff, like you mentioned, paint maybe. And then they turn around and mark these properties up, and they're charging a lot of money, guys. So we want to be your consumer advocate here. We got to take a quick break here, quick time out. But when we come back, more from our expert contributors here in studio, Scott Kepler, Frank Miranda here in studio, talking about today's show is going to be a lot about these hedge funds, these national wholesale buyers, and why you want to be real diligent throughout that process and ask a lot of questions. Stay with us right here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by Trulieve on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, your host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty, #1 real estate company in the world, helping our buyers, sellers, investors with their, quarterbacking those transactions. Longtime quarterback on my sports teams, quarterback at, all these teams growing up, Pop Warner days, Super Bowl ones, all that. Now we're quarterbacking a game where it deals with dollars and cents, and it comes down to, money in, money out, and how we can help you live a better life. And today we're having an intelligent talk conversation here about a trend and other trends in the real estate industry that we're seeing here. So we got in studio Scott Kepler, Mortgage Approval Group, Frank Miranda, real estate attorney, Frank Charles Miranda, PA, does titles closings, real estate closings as well, and can help you with real estate law, any types of litigation type areas in that field as well. So we got a lot of good stuff happening here around the show. And today, we wanted to mention Brothers Easy Moving. The official moving partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show is Brothers Easy Moving. They do a great job, local or long distance moves, and they are highly reviewed online, very well reviewed online. 4.6 rating on Google, A rating on the Better Business Bureau and Angie's List. Reach out to Brothers Easy Moving for all of your moving needs, and they are a first-class organization. I can tell you from first-hand experience. They did my wife and I, they did our move over to our new home. So Brothers Easy Moving, the official moving partner of the Consumer Quarterback Show. I got a couple of hot properties I want to let you know about here. 206 Mariner Drive over in Tarpon Springs. This one here is motivated by the owner is motivated. He's just reduced the price down to $259,000, and he's super motivated to get this one moved. So reach out to our show if you have any interest in a condo, beautiful condo in Tarpon Springs area. Also 207 Coronado Drive. This is one of my favorite listings. $3.5 million price tag and a gorgeous location. This property is located on the beach, right across the street from the Wyndham Grand, adjacent to the Hyatt. And you've got Pier 60 right across the street. All types of cool stuff coming up. You've got the big festival coming up over in Clearwater here as well. Their sand festival, what they call it, Sugar Sand Festival. I forget the name of it, something like that. But yeah. Beautiful location. This is perfect for an entrepreneur or business owner that has a plan for a business. Great opportunity here. 207 Coronado Drive. Check out all of our listings at platinummvpteam.com. All right, let's go back into it, guys. So I want to beat up on these national buyers, these hedge funds a little bit. Because I see what's happening. We're running the reports. We're seeing the commissions that they're charging, and they don't call it commission, they call it a fee. Plus, what you also have is they're pulling money out of our local economy. Okay, that's a big one to me, because I want to battle for our local businesses. I want to battle for it's been said that the economy, the American economy, yeah, we've got these big companies, Fortune 500, all the big companies, but it's really, when you look at the small mom and pops, the contractors, the real estate, the title, the closings, the mortgage brokers, the real estate agents on the ground making things happen, kind of like Frank alluded to. We're here locally. Our reputations are on the line. Our money is going to go back into local charitable organizations. These big companies come in. They come in with these advertising tactics that, that what they're doing isn't 100% transparent, in my opinion, right? So they're pulling money out of our local economy is one of the biggest things I say. That's what I think about.
Oh, absolutely. I think that they're not only pulling money, they're pulling wealth out of our area and equity. Essentially allowing them to control, the process, like Frank was talking about, allows them to basically funnel all of that money out. Not only the real estate, commission, but you're talking about the title and the title insurance and the closing. Right. And really nothing happens local except maybe they have a notary that signs the actual paperwork with them. Right. And then when they go to sell it, it's the same thing. They just have basically a call center of, I'd agree with Frank, from dealing with, them on several transactions. Yep. That they're not very well trained. and they basically have a script, you know.
That's right.
And you're going to get a different person every time you call.
Yeah.
And they look it up by an operator.
That domino effect is just more than the initial transaction. Okay, because
Right.
you're talking about the initial transaction, but if they're the ultimate buyer, what happens is this: they're collecting the rent.
Right.
That money goes to their headquarters out, clearly not in this area.
Right.
When they go to sell it, that income, that profit doesn't come to this area. So it's a trickle-down effect, and they're making on that piece of property 3 different ways to make money,
Yeah.
and that money never comes back to this community.
Yep.
The only thing that comes back to this community is advertising dollars, because it continued to I would say, advertise in a tricky way.
Yep.
In that it's clear if you look at, let's go back to what I said before the segment ended. You know, if you look at their reviews, those reviews are probably made by a marketing company.
Right.
Okay, they're not made typically by people in this area. It's a game to get on the first page of Google.
Right. SEO.
And so the best way to ever do business is, you know, call your neighbor, your friend, your family member, someone from the church. Who did you use? Who do you respect locally to sell my piece of real estate?
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. The common sense approach goes a long way, because now you're getting a referral from somebody that's local.
Good point.
And if they were willing to spend money and spend their hard-earned money on somebody that was local, yeah, that plays all back in the concept of leaving the money in the community.
That's right.
But it shows face. I mean, that's the person you can reach out and touch them and shake their hand, and we have a deal. And
That's
if
right.
there's a dispute here. If you want to have a dispute with one of these national companies,
There you go.
where are you going to fight them?
Wow.
Where's that lawsuit going to be?
Yeah. You'd never know. Like I had a situation with a previous company. This was years and years ago. I was operating a company, and the telecom company I was working with, in their documents, I mean, I got to the point where I said, I can't take this anymore. Because I had the voice over IP, right? So I had no phones. Companies were calling my cell phone saying, "Hey, are you still in business?" And then I said, "Oh, you know, I got to the point where I'm upset. I'm going to sue. I got to. What am I going to do?" And I started researching it. They said, "Well, unfortunately, their home base or whatever, you have to the place that you have to take action is in Virginia or Maryland, wherever it was."
And I can assure you, their contracts, those national companies' contracts, are in the venue. It's called venue for where you go ahead and sue them.
That's right.
Is not in this area.
Right.
So, who wants to go fight somebody? Find a lawyer outside the area in a different state that they have no reference to, no good referral source, like we talked about earlier.
That's right.
Hire somebody blind, pay them money to go up against a company that's well funded, and they can fight you and outspend you.
And here's the other side of that. A lot of times when you, and we all do it nowadays, we blindly sign, yep, agree and accept. I got to go. I've got to get the kids from whatever. You know, you agree and accept, you hit the button. You're agreeing to either arbitration or mediation. And who has the ongoing relationship with the arbitration companies? The small one-time guy or gal, or the big national company?
Yeah, hang on a second, though. I don't think it's going to be like that, because typically what happens is the arbitrator is typically a lawyer or an ex-judge. They're independent business. Now, what typically happens in those kind of contracts, what should happen in those kind of contracts, is both parties get to select an arbitrator, or a mediator. And if they can't mutually agree, then there's usually a mechanism how someone is to agree. Okay, so I'd like to think, because that's quasi-judicial, that aspect of it's still safe.
Right.
Okay. However, we talked about the other aspects of the closing, or the other aspects of the rental property.
Yep.
All those people are definitely in the back pockets of the national companies who are buying these houses and or attempting to pitch the consumer that we're going to sell it cheaper, we're going to sell it faster without any effort on your part. So that's the aspect that I think is what we're keen on today. But hopefully the judicial aspect isn't.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not.
I agree with you there. All right, hey, good stuff here. We got Scott Kepler in the house. Mortgage Approval Group, support your local lender. Attorney Frank Miranda in studio as well, real estate attorney. And Frank Charles Miranda, PA, is his title closing company as well, right here in Tampa. So stay with us. More intelligent talk coming up after this short timeout. And we're going to touch on our feel-good story of the day. Got a high school that's opening its doors on Friday nights to keep students off the street. Stay with us. Consumer Quarterback Show. Look at us online. Make sure you find us online at Brandon Rhymes 1 on Instagram and Twitter. I got the Consumer Quarterback Show pages out there, and consumerqb.com is your #1 resource. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, I'm Forbes Riley, celebrity TV fitness host and creator of The Spin Gym. I'm here today with Brandon Rhymes, and you're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show. Great ways to get happy, healthy, and wealthy.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by True Leaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, your host of the Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. A couple of hot listings, 7424 4th Street North in St. Petersburg. This is a corner lot gas station that has a 3 service bays built in. It's got 3 service bays, so it's got light mechanical. It's got the food shop in there as well. Dave's Corner Mart right there. And it is a nice opportunity here for the right business owner, someone that has a need for a gas station or light mechanical. This is in a great location. Lots of traffic on 4th Street North there. Great property. 1701 Mariner Way. This property here on Mariner Way now, it's beautiful on the inside. The photography by Fabre Frameworks, our official real estate photographer, they do a great job here on this property. 1701 Mariner Way. We got to get some interior photos on our team for that. But this property, he's got a beautiful remodel on the kitchen, and he just put in a lot of money into the landscape. So the landscaping is going to be updated this week as well. 1701 Mariner Way. I want to say the price tag, that one is mid 300s, and that's right in Tarpon Springs gated community. Beautiful opportunity there from the PlatinumMVPteam.com. PlatinumMVPteam.com. Somewhere sunny and 75. All right, right, back here in studio, we got Scott Kepler in the house, Mortgage Approval Group, helping people with that pre-approval process, getting in the real estate game. Converting renters is my passion. I want to convert as many renters as we can, Scott, into home ownership, because I see that as such a flaw that we have. And you know what? It goes back, in my opinion, it goes back to the 2007-8 meltdown, the Great Recession, whatever you want to call it. So many, again, picking on the hedge funds, so many of these hedge funds came in, bought up so much inventory, did a light renovation sometimes, but then they put people in there as renters. And even I remember like 5 years ago, Harvard did a study that said the rents are rising, and boy, have they risen.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you look and at the figures, I think the average rent in Tampa is like $1,300 a month. And,
yeah.
You know, it's for something under 800 square feet or 900 square feet,
right,
somewhere in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you really look at, you know, how much dollars per month that you put towards per square feet,
yep,
you know, it just in rent, and then to know you're throwing that away, it's not going towards anything for you.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth looking into, and it's a wise investment and a good way to start building wealth.
And you know what gets me too, man? Some of the different public figures, you know, Gary Vee, these people, Cardone, even, I had him on my show. They say, and it's commission-based advice, in my opinion. Again, here we go to commission-based advice. Don't buy home ownership. You know, American dream is not, I don't think you should buy a house. You know, these guys are saying that, and they're influencing a lot of people now just because they had a wine show and they hit the internet at the right time, and they're giving out bad advice. I mean, I did a post on it. I'm part of the American Dream television show. Craig Sewing, the founder of that show, did a nice video on that as well. So what would you say to the people like that, these influencers that are telling people not to buy a house?
Well, I think that they need to be more specific about, you know, what they're actually saying.
Right.
And because I know, you know, one of the people that you mentioned, you know, kind of went back and did an additional statement clarifying, you know, some of the things that he was actually talking about, because he got a little, you know, bit of a pushback from that. Absolutely. Yeah. And essentially what he was saying is that, you know, it wasn't a good idea for him to invest in, you know, this place in Manhattan or wherever it was. I don't recall.
Right.
But the real estate's different there.
Yes.
You know, it might not be a good idea if you're in a certain situation in a certain market.
Yep.
You know, it just depends, you know, and what your circumstances are. But that's where professionals who do it on a day-to-day basis really come into play, because, you know, we can talk to you about what's happening in our market,
right,
and what the figures are for your rent and, you know, your mortgage payment and how much you can afford to spend. And then you get, you know, you talk with me, you get that part figured out, and then you go talk with someone on your team about, okay, here's my budget.
Yeah.
This matches up with what I'm able to spend per month. And you're going to start building wealth, because that every month that balance goes down. And at the same time, you know, in a healthy market, you're going to see an appreciation rate of 3%.
Yeah.
But we've been seeing double that or plus some in a lot of places in our market.
And sometimes even people go back when you have this argument, you know, around the pool or wherever you're at, you know, you sometimes you get on this topic. And by the way, if you just joined us, Brandon Rhymes here talking with Scott Kepler, Mortgage Approval Group. They want to bring up, oh, well, what about the meltdown and then the S&L crisis in the 80s? You know, it's interesting. I saw an article about that. Anytime we had a major event like that, the real estate market still went up.
Sure.
Except for the 08.
Right, but you got to also remember, you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
You know, some real estate is meant to be invested and flipped, you know, if you go into it with that mindset. But if you bought this house as your primary residence and we have a crash again and values go down a little bit, you got to remember, it's just like the stock market or your 401k or wherever your money's invested. If the market goes down a little, you just have to give it enough time for it to come back.
That's right.
You know, and so that's why you have to have your, you know, your mental attitude around, oh no, my house dropped in value. But a lot of those houses that went down in 2008 and 2009, if you look at the value of them today,
exactly,
which is what, 10 years later versus what they were at that time, it's higher than what they were then.
That's right.
Before they started crashing.
Yeah, to your point. So if you had a stock, if you have a mutual fund, if you have a real estate property, you never really lose money until you pull it out or you realized, to use an accounting term, right? You realize that appreciation or that loss. Frank, want to comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I'm deposing someone and they said, you should always rent.
Right.
The next question would be, well, tell me about all the properties you own.
Right.
And I assure you that they own a lot of properties because there's not a millionaire, billionaire, or someone that I would consider being upper middle class that doesn't own property.
Yeah.
It's just not part of the. It's not part of the formula. They all have it.
Especially one of the guys that I had on my show multiple years ago, and I came out of the blue, and I wasn't prepared for it. But don't buy a home. Why would you buy? So coming on a realtor show, saying that, and then guess what he does now? He buys apartment complexes.
Sure.
So is that commission based advice? You dang right it is. You damn right it is.
Look, I mean, I guess there's an exception to every rule. If you're not capable of maintaining a property, there's an exception. There's reasons why people rent, obviously.
Yeah. You just moved to a city.
Right. You're only going to be there a short amount of time.
Yeah.
I get it. Renting is definitely an option for people. It's a viable option. But if you're talking about gaining long-term wealth, there's no one that has a positive net worth that doesn't own real estate.
Yeah. That's right. Look at our president. I mean, he's Trump holdings around the world. You've got lots of people that are heavily invested in real estate. Downtown Tampa, Jeff Vinnick. I mean, these guys are reshaping a city through the dynamics of real estate with green spaces. And we got the world's first ever, what do they call it? A health district, right? Isn't that what they're calling it? Or, gosh, I forgot the term there.
Well, what they're building, I think, on the east side of downtown, the southeast part of downtown is supposed to be more green friendly. It's supposed to be more walkable space.
Yeah, that's right.
How they term it, I'm probably out of the loop on that, but you can live, work, and play in that same area. So the concept is you might actually live in the same office building that you work, or you might live, a building down, which is, the norm in Chicago. It's the norm in New York City. It's the norm in those kind of areas. So downtown Tampa in the next 10 years is going to evolve into a much more modern, sophisticated city.
Yeah.
If that's what you term to be necessary to have that.
Right.
And so we definitely have a walkable with the Riverwalk now and those kind of amenities right outside your front door if you live in those condos. But even if you live in those condos, you have convenience.
Yep.
Okay. So you don't have to drive everywhere. The shopping's coming. The things that you need outside of just shopping for pleasure, but the grocery stores are going to be there, the drugstores are going to be there, the pharmacies and what have you. That's all coming. And so you're looking about an area where to invest in the whole country. Tampa's got to be in the top 10.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, especially if you look at the Bay, the whole Bay Area, pick your pleasure where you want to be. There's so many things here. By the way, that's attorney Frank Miranda chiming in. We got Scott Kepler in the house here on the Consumer Quarterback Show.
You can make a lot of products and sell them. You can't make more dirt.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
and so when more people want to live in a certain area, your odds of that land going down in value, temporarily it might. I definitely agree with Scott. Temporarily it might because of market condition.
Yep.
In the long term, it's always going to go up because more people want to live in a certain geographical area.
That's right. Yeah, close to the hockey, and what's the big thing with the Rays? What's the latest with the Tampa Bay Rays? Have you guys followed that at all? I know they're winning. I know they're like 7-3 now, or something like that.
I think they're 8-3. I think they won again
now. So they got a winning program, but they're still, every time I tune in a game for just a quick minute, I don't watch a lot of baseball, but you still see a lot of empty seats in that stadium.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons for that.
Yeah,
and I think, and being a casual sports person and really following them on a daily basis, but not really attending many games.
Yep.
For me, it's I'm one of those lawyers that actually works throughout a day. Yeah. I don't leave the office till 6:37. At that point in time, I'm heading home. I still have a young one at home, so I'm heading home to see that.
Yep.
So that's from my personal experience. The other issue you have is you get down there, and even though there might only be 12,000 to 20,000 fans there, it's always been my experience that when you try and leave the parking lot, I never get out of there within 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
it's a narrow entry. It's one car at a time. There's no one really directing traffic.
Yep.
And I think if they focus on those kind of it's not even an amenity. I think it's almost a convenience.
Yeah.
Necessity.
Get your client in and out in and out where they want to go. And I think that helps.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have more talk here about Tampa Bay, current events, things happening in the marketplace, and our feel-good story of the day. This is a good one. I really like this theme and this philosophy. This high school, Newark, New Jersey, they're keeping their doors open on Friday nights to keep the students off the street. Stay with us right here. Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Hey, this is Jarek Robbins. You are listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. Please do what it takes to learn all that you have to live the life you want to live it fully, and find a way to give it by paying it forward to others.
Get in touch with Brandon online at consumerqb.com.
This is the Cannabis Podcast, powered by TrueLeaf on Radio Influence. It's an inside look and the scientific facts in and around the world of medical cannabis. Now, here is your host, Ian Beckles.
He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us. Brandon Rhymes here, Consumer Quarterback Show, powered by the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. We're helping you win in any marketplace. That is our goal. And every day we're going to tell you something positive here and give you an injection of positivity in your day. Positive injection.
Tell me something good.
All right, so we've got a high school in Newark, New Jersey, opens its doors every Friday night in an effort to keep kids off the streets and keep them out of trouble. Hundreds of kids pack the halls of West Side High School on Friday nights because it's space free of fear. It's a space free of fear. And they leave the Lights On program. It's part of the Lights On program for all the kids of all ages. They're fed hot meals, encouraged to play sports, video games, or even lay low down music tracks in a recording studio. Anything that keeps me off the streets, I'll do, one student said. Selling drugs and that stuff, I'm not into that. I just realized that if I come here, I'll see friendly faces, another student said. Principal Abakar Cook, who made headlines last year for opening a free laundry room for students in the school, says they haven't lost any kids to gun violence since the start of the school year. The Lights On programs was made possible by donations from the community. It goes to show what a school can become and what a community cares about its kids who just want a chance. So I like that one. What do you guys think about that? I mean, I feel like this is something that would be very low overhead to implement because you already have the school cafeteria, the whatever gymnasiums, right? I like this program.
Hey, it's an idea that's been around since 1940s and 50s when the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts clubs, and they used to have basketball at nights on Fridays and things of that nature. And they used to have high school dances. And so the concept isn't a new concept.
Right.
People just got to implement it.
Yeah.
And so kudos to that principal who actually said, look, all we have to do is do something.
That's right.
All we have to do is unlock the door.
That's right.
And I wish more people did it.
Yep.
It
Turn
seems
on
like
the lights. And
simple, like you said, simple, low cost to the community.
Yep.
And it's doing a great amount of good for the amount of effort that's being put forth.
Yeah. Especially because these kids, a lot of times, they only know what they know in terms of their family, their neighborhood. So they go back home, their cousin got in trouble for selling drugs, whatever it might have been, or he's, going to go jack some cars and he wants him to come along. All he's got to do is drive, that type of thing. These situations, it happens. Ask law enforcement. My cousin's a sheriff in Hendry County. I mean, I've had conversations with him. You see it. I mean, so this is to me, these kids are 16, 17, 18 years old, and they are at their time where they're being molded. Their minds are being molded, and their careers, the decisions they make now are going to affect them potentially for 20, 30 years to life, just depending on what they do, if they get in trouble.
I think everyone needs structure to some regard, and so you give them a structure and say, "This is an opportunity. Come over here." And once you get there, there's options.
That's right.
You can play pool. You can go play basketball. You can go do something that's not sports related.
Yep.
But you give them some sort of structure with some flexibility, and I think that resonates well with today's youth. And otherwise, they're sitting home and listen. Odds are they're being raised by a single parent who has maybe more than one job.
Good
and
point.
So they're working at night.
That's
and so
right.
they have no direction. And so they're able to walk out the front door and bad things happen there.
Yeah.
And so if they can go to a place where there's some structure, that's fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if it's just, hey, pull out the books, get the homework done, whatever they're doing. But that's a great point you bring up. I believe the statistics show over 50% of the households now are divorced. So the households, that's one of the things that's eroding the American, what's the word there? The just our overall values, I believe. And that's a big problem. So that's a great part of bring that entrepreneurial spirit to a school. So that principle there is kind of entrepreneurial, in my opinion.
Well, what he's giving more than money. He's giving his time.
Yeah.
And so you can't quantify that. So whoever's volunteering to make sure they're there to watch those kids.
That's right.
To me, that's more of a sacrifice than writing a check.
Yeah. That's big time. That's your time.
It's the community coming together too.
Yes.
It said it was supported by local businesses.
Yep.
If you do it long enough and you get enough people involved, you can eventually hopefully squash those, issues that are outside of there.
That's right. Yep. All right. Good stuff. We got Scott Kepler in the house, Mortgage Approval Group, attorney Frank Miranda, local real estate attorney and title company. We are going to jump into our lightning round.
The lightning round.
I am so good at lightning rounds.
I majored in lightning rounds.
All right. Let's do some top tips here, nuggets of advice, parting words of wisdom. Scott Kepler.
I think my parting words of wisdom in reference to today's show would just be, if you hear an advertisement, and it's not for somebody who's local, talk to somebody who's local in addition, at least.
Right.
If not altogether, instead of dealing with, one of these, national brands or national lenders even, talk to somebody local. We know your market. We know, what's happening out there, the trends that are happening, and different options as far as I'm concerned is, with the mortgage programs and so on, and what would best, fit your needs. And, don't be afraid to reach out to us. Our advice is free.
Yeah. That's right.
I don't know about Frank's. He probably charges.
Yeah, he does.
But, that being said, you can get a hold of me in my office at 813 444-8537 or at scottkepler.com.
It's scottkepler.com. That's right. That's right. Attorney Frank Miranda.
Piggybacking on what Scott just said and what we talked about the whole show. When you make a decision about selling maybe your biggest asset, read the fine print.
Mm-hmm.
Ask the questions. If you're simply looking for convenience, you can find that convenience and protect yourself and end up with more money by calling someone local.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the numbers, they're charging much more money.
Yep.
And to what I've seen and how it's being handled, they're trusting your belongings inside your house to a complete stranger.
Yeah.
So go ahead and just call someone local that's reputable and get those references.
That's right. Yeah, reach out. That's the key right there is reach out to our show. Anything you heard today on the show, any of our 80 plus show partners here, CPAs, financial advisors, attorneys of all types. We've got all types of home service companies as well. Tomorrow's show, we're going to talk a lot about water. So if you're interested in the water supply and how you can have healthy water, I mean, there's so many ways that we help you here. Solar companies, reach out to the show, 813-670-7372. That's our consumer advocate hotline number. You can call or text 813-670-7372. And make sure you save our hotline number in your phone and consumerqb.com, consumerqb.com. And we want to be that resource. And it's great. Every week we got people calling in, finding out, hey, I heard you talk about this rent versus own analysis. I heard the credit magician talking about how he can help us with this free credit package. That's what we do with the show. We want to make you more street smart here. And it's all about being, giving that non-commission based advice. That's the thing. When you look at non-commission based advice versus what social media influencers are given, all types of professionals out there are given. They're giving commission-based advice based on what's going to pay them the most amount of money, and that's what got us into trouble with the mortgage meltdown. That's back when that happened, we had loose regulations, and there was a lot of commission-based advice. Mortgage brokers pushing people into subprime loans when they didn't have to, just because it was an easier deal to get done, or they had a nice account rep. There's all types of reasons, right? So yeah, what else you seen out there, Scott?
Well, I think one thing to keep in mind is when you're hearing about influencers, is that sometimes they're getting paid to push a product.
That's true.
That's why they're called influencers, because they can influence the decision that you're making. They're not all bad. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think there's some great ones out there, and I can't fault them for I don't even want to say taking advantage of, but
yeah.
It's the putting themselves in that position to where they can influence people.
Yeah.
And most of them, I think, make good decisions before they do that, but not all of them.
Yeah, it's the market. It's the way things have changed. It's the internet has opened up so many new avenues for advertising and marketing and influencers. Now we're seeing gamers that are making millions of dollars because people want to pay to watch them play the game because they know how to get to the next level, the next board, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's interesting. And when you look at that, so from a standpoint of a local economy, though, just again, we really hope that resonates with you today, is supporting your local economy, these real estate agents, these title companies, these mortgage, all types of folks that are going to help you here locally versus, again, some of these big hedge fund buyers, these people coming in, they're pulling money out of our economy. They're coming in with slick tactics and fee structures and commission. Is it commission or is it a fee? There's a lot of things to think about.
Well, when you talk about, I'm talking about accountability. How about that?
Yeah.
So when something goes wrong, and often, what we don't talk about enough is oftentimes there's controversies, disputes in a real estate transaction.
That's right.
All right. So who's accountable?
Yeah.
Who are you going to hold accountable? You're going to have somebody who's answering a telephone in Cincinnati, Ohio, be accountable to you.
Right.
And if you want to fight them, you want to sue them, and you have the wherewithal to do it, you got to sue them in Ohio.
That's right.
That's not the way to play.
Nope.
And so that's why you're talking about local economy. Yeah, that's definitely a factor. But let's talk about things go bad. Where's the accountability?
Good point. Yep. There's a lot of reasons why we want you shopping local here. ConsumerQB.com, your number one resource. And I want to thank our expert contributors for doing a great job here today. Scott Kepler, local mortgage approval group here. We got attorney Frank Miranda and Frank Charlie Miranda, PA, is his office on Cypress, and a real estate attorney here. We want you to please go out there and consider committing a random act of kindness, something as simple as maybe packing up some food or clothing, carrying it with you to and from from your commute, handing it to that person that you see in need, and be a force for good in the community. We'll see you next time. ConsumerQB.com.
You've been listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Contact Brandon Rhymes at 813-670-7372. That's 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time for the Consumer Quarterback Show, weekday afternoons at 5 on AM 1380. The Biz.
Are you a real estate agent looking to take your business to the next level and supercharge your marketing? Hi, I'm Brandon Rhymes, owner of Platinum MVP Realty and host of the Real Estate Quarterback Show, syndicated radio and TV show talk program on iHeartRadio, 1025 The Bone, daily 5 o'clock drive time on 1380 The Biz, and our TV show is on WeBeam TV. We're looking for real estate agents that want to join our team and supercharge their marketing utilizing some of our innovative strategies. We utilize the Real Geeks platform, Facebook marketing, internet marketing, and a lot of the traditional methods as well. Postcard mailers mailed for you, postage, signage, business cards, all paid for by the company. Aggressive real estate splits and ways to help you win in any marketplace. We need you to go out, take applications, and work our plethora of leads that we're generating on a daily basis. Reach out by clicking the form below, and we'd love to have a confidential interview with you.